Talk lines are open now at 314-969-9797 or toll free at 866-455-9797. You're listening to The Dana Show.
One of our headlines that we're going to be getting into later in the program, the spy agencies apparently being allowed by the U.S. government to actually comb through our financial documents, according to a Treasury Department, as seen by Reuters. We have that for you coming up. Also, here's a headline for you. Jesse Jackson Jr.'s seat in Illinois. Everyone thought that this is, it's a dynasty. It's a political dynasty. And everyone thought that this seat would just go to whomever Chicago Democrats wanted to appoint for this seat. And then comes out of the woodwork, Paul McKinley. You can find him at McKinleyforCongress.com. He's a Republican. He believes in the Second Amendment. He believes in constitutional conservatism and small government. And he's challenging the machine for this seat. And, of course, they've come out swinging at him. He's joining me right here at CPAC's Radio Row. Paul.
Thank you very much for allowing me to be on your program. First of all, I'd like to say that Chicago has the highest murder rate than Chihuahua, Mexico. More people are murdered in Chicago than has been killed in Iraq and Afghanistan together. And for a city to have this level of violence that had to bring the President of the United States about a murder, need to focus in on the corruption that leads to the murder in the city of Chicago. Now, this is the same city that has governors going to jail. This is the same city that has aldermen, commissioners. There's a trial of a commissioner that's under indictment right now.
Yeah.
So this city is one of the most corrupt cities. And I would like to say, I saw how the governor went in and took over Detroit. We would like to ask the president to come in and take over the city of Chicago from the corruption that we have in the city of Chicago. Chicago is so corrupt. And let me say this to you, and I don't want to be funny about this because it's a very serious matter. When you're dealing with the city of Chicago, you have to understand the mechanism. The city of Chicago is ran by a machine, and the machine ain't white and it ain't black. The machine don't care how old you is or how young you is. The machine need money. That's how the machine operates, and it has a pensioners army. Most of the people that you've seen got out and voted for them people, they're part of the pensioners army, and that army is led by no other than Ron Caliglius Emmanuel, who have cowered down underneath the king of New York, Bloomberg, who used to be a Republican.
Yeah,
who said that he was a Republican, but he looked over in Illinois and couldn't find one Republican to support. He supported a Democrat, and he supported a Democrat that was in support of banning your Second Amendment.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People, especially when you're in a city with a high crime rate, you want people to have that free civil right to be able to protect themselves. I keep thinking of Otis McDonald when he was battling the government, the huge Second Amendment case, McDonald versus Chicago. They were trying to tell him he was tired of the crime in his neighborhood. He wanted to be able to have a handgun, carry a handgun. They told him no, went to Supreme Court, ruled in his favor. This is something where, as Rahm Emanuel said, he said it wasn't Chicago values, apparently. He talks about Chicago values. Went after Chick-fil-A, when it goes after the Second Amendment. It seems that this would help make citizens safer. It would make the jobs for the police easier because...
Ron Emanuel is one of the biggest hypocrites known to politics. First of all, when the man from the NRA, came out and said that... we need to look at the video games. We need to look at when he came out and said that, Ron Emanuel led the charge in attacking him, saying we don't need no security at school. And every time his daughter go to school, they're led with security. Every time you see Ron Emanuel, he got armed security around Chicago police.
Why can't other Chicago kids have security?
No, why can't he not have no security?
Right.
Let's talk the other way around. If he's so much of a libertarian, start with your family first. Start not having no police guard in your family.
Right.
Chicago already had a gun ban. It had a gun ban for 27 years under the tyrannical rule of Mayor Daley. Now, I'd like to say something about this whole gun ban thing. How are you going to talk about a gun ban and not deal with what's really going on?
Yeah.
Narco-terrorism. How are you going to talk about the violence in Chicago and not talk about narco-terrorism? Wherever there is a bunch of drugs, there's a bunch of guns. You can't sell drugs without guns. So the same people that's pushing drugs is the same people that's pushing guns. You look, I'm an ex-offender, and I'm trying to stop a next offender, and it might be the candidate that's trying to get in office. That might be the next offender I may have to stop. All I'm saying to you is that in dealing with Chicago, they leave out narco-terrorism. Narco-terrorism is the drug families south of the border. These same drug family has free ring in Chicago, because if you know, and they said this, I know you heard them, they said Chicago is a sanctuary city.
Yeah.
So when they're saying they're a sanctuary city,
they're advertising.
They're saying, bring it up here.
Right.
The police won't pull you over. And then if you didn't have a license, well, we're going to give you a license, so if they pull you over, you're legitimate.
Right.
All that's dealing with narco-terrorism. Nobody said, you've not heard Ron Emanuel say anything about the gun trafficking.
Right.
You can't have gun trafficking without drug trafficking. And the reason why he don't say nothing about it, because it's a machine. And the machine don't care nothing about you, and it don't care about me. It don't even care about that little girl that got killed a couple days ago.
No.
Where was the president now? Now, a 5-year-old girl that got killed. How come you didn't come on back to Chicago?
Right. It's in his backyard.
The problem ain't solved.
I want to ask you, you said something very interesting, because, you know, I've read, because the left has come out after you. Of course, you take a stand, and especially in Chicago, they're going to come out after you. You said, I'm an ex-offender trying to stop the next offender. Huffington Post, you know, they came out with a hit piece on you. They said, oh, this is an ex-con. How could he be? My first thought was, well, wouldn't Chicago embrace him even all the more, because, well, they just had one of their, Blagojevich is in jail. Wouldn't they embrace him all the more? But you said you've learned. You're an ex-offender trying to stop the next one. You know. You've been there.
Well, they just voted for Jesse Jr. 150,000 people voted for him. Even after they already saw for 6 months that he wouldn't even come and vote and go to Congress. Even though it was already clear that he was going to get indicted and go to jail.
Right.
And they voted for him anyway. The mainstream media has a hypocrisy. They don't speak. The mainstream media is an attack dog for the Democratic machine.
Yeah.
That's all they do. The Democratic machine get mad you're not. They didn't give you permission. They didn't tell you that you could go out there and run and be a man. Then the Democratic machine sicks the political attack dogs on you. Mm-hmm. And that's so when you're watching the media and they logging the people to sleep and the people are still going for the same Kool-Aid, as they say.
Right.
That's why we need people like yourself.
And
A voice in the wilderness. Well, we still need you, because you're still not cowering down to what everybody wants you to think. You're still not cowering down, and you're keeping the truth going. This is the only industry that's an amendment in the Constitution, the freedom of the press.
That's right.
And those people are abusing freedom of the press.
I want to ask you really quickly, we're coming up on a hard break. We've got about 1:50 left. What made you want to run?
Well, in my community, as well as this whole district, I've learned that most of the problems that we have in our community is a illegal and bogus organization called the Machine. And most people don't even understand that I'm using this platform to expose the Machine, to drive a wedge between the public and the Machine, because most people in the state of Illinois, the Machine has the whole state locked down.
Yeah. Our
governor is a Democrat.
Yeah.
Our Speaker, Lord of the House, Mike Madigan, is a Democrat.
Yep.
The lady that runs the Cook County president, she's a Democrat.
Oh,
the
Cook
mayor,
County.
he's the Democrat. All your aldermen are Democrat. So you can't blame the Tea Party for the problems of the state of Illinois. You can't blame the Republicans for the problems of Illinois. You must put the fault at the pinnacle of responsibility directly pointing at the Democrats. It is their fault, and the same thing that they're doing in the state of Illinois, they're doing it across. Now they've gone national. They've gone national.
Yeah. They have. We have to have you back on the program.
Thank you very much.
And guys, you need to check him out. McKinleyforcongress.com. Paul McKinley.
And I need your donation. I need your support.
Go and
Please
support this man. He just took us to church. God bless you. We need to have you back on the program. Folks, we have a quick break coming up. Tabitha Hale on a new voice in the conservative media. Keep it right here. More of The Dana Show in moments.